A team of spelunkers, under the guidance of the teacher, go deep into the depths of the cave. As they go deeper and deeper, a series of unknown challenges began to emerge. At first it was just simple fatigue and discomfort, but soon developed into a more serious physical condition. Even some of the players started to get dizzy. What exactly happened to them in the cave? This is the Baladilla Caving event in northern Hungary, deep within Aktrich National Park. A group of young people are cautiously, through the labyrinth of Baladilla Cave, head to an area known as the Tree Passage. It was New Year's Eve, 1965. A group of students led by Professor Walter. They set foot on a tour of the multiple caves in the area, the highlight of the journey. However, they did not know where their brother was. Something terrible is waiting for them. Although they are just students, this team is involved in this type of activity, not without experience. Many of them. He has participated in similar expeditions many times before. Professor Walter himself is also an experienced, rich speleologist. He has led many young people like this. A team of students go on an outdoor adventure. Their goal that night was even more ambitious. They are planning an underground journey, crossing Hungary and Czechoslovakia, the boundary between Grams. The border is deep inside the cave and is separated by an iron gate. For this expedition, they have undergone rigorous training. The previous weekend, they ventured into the area. Rugged rocky terrain, learned lifting and climbing skills, underground navigation skills, and well-respecting natural dangers. The delicate balance of achieving goals. Unlike modern speleologists, what they carry is ordinary clothing and the common TV lights of the time. 1964, the year before, Walter once led the team out of their comfort zone. Enter a more challenging cave system. That cave, located at the foot of a magnificent white cliff. This initial visit was. Subsequent expeditions laid the groundwork. The main passage of the cave is a winding tunnel. The total length is nearly 7 kilometers. The average width is 10 meters. It has several large and spacious halls. One of the halls, it can even accommodate about 1,000 people at the same time. Name. The tunnel is also connected to several smaller side passages. During flood season, rain runs down the main tunnel, and this system also contains the world's known, one of the largest stalactites. Gradually its scale. Their 1965 camping trip in the cave, and orchestrated and organized, includes 5 days of in-depth systematic expedition training. A few days ago, they passed through different side passages of the main tunnel. Take this opportunity to challenge the most difficult route. Prepare for the final challenge. It's a site called the Branch Passage. It's a dangerously flooded passage. Only the most experienced caves. Only explorers were allowed to pass. Fortunately, this group is for that condition. Well prepared. Carrying lighting equipment, sleeping bags, layers of clothing, and other equipment used to illuminate the path. Finally, December 31st arrived. This is the last and most anticipated part of the journey. After the members gather, left their makeshift camp, ready to spend the night, led by the most experienced members. The team moves forward step by step. Every movement is carefully directed. As they approach the branch passage, the air is heavier than usual. The water level was also slightly higher than expected. Walter is at the forefront. The rest cautiously followed. Even a wrong step, you could fall into freezing cold water. Although soon they will have to wade and line. The biggest challenge comes from the Red River section below. They're squad members. You have to partially submerge to get through. When they arrive at that section, everyone dived into the icy cold one by one, stifling water. Although everyone has experience, this journey is still nerve-wracking, but they controlled their breathing. Avoid letting the flashlight get wet with water, so as not to go out. After crossing the last red stream, they were finally in the zone where they could stand again. And the iron gate that marks the border between the two countries is not far ahead. After a few minutes, they got there. Squad stop. Celebrate your achievements and the arrival of the new year. Sharing brought food and drinks. But after the celebration, as they turned to return to camp, the first signs of trouble began to appear. Tiredness strikes, accompanied by severe physical pain, and an overwhelming sense of collapse. At first, only one person developed these symptoms. But then, another person is in the same situation. Something obviously went terribly wrong. At first they thought it was just a long journey, the resulting fatigue. But then someone started to show up and move on. The other leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. Finally, a student broke the silence. Speak up and say he needs help. He is young. Physical fitness is also good, but pale, not too unstable. His appearance makes... The others looked at each other in the dim light, but in the narrow tunnel, there is nowhere to stop and rest. Walter then encouraged everyone to move on. Emphasize that you can't stay again. The student agreed. Keep going a few steps, but then another student slipped, kneeled down in the water. The student who followed suit also fell. And pretty soon, one by one, lots of people started passing out. The stronger member of the team, trying to rescue a comatose companion, trying to hold them back, pull forward. But soon after, they realized that, I can't take everyone out alone. Walter had no choice. You have to leave the team to find rescue. It was a difficult decision, but in that case, the only reasonable option. If they don't go out for help, others will perish in the darkness. Another teacher, Maria, joined Walter. Let's set foot on the road to the cave exit together. With every step they take, my exhaustion is getting worse, almost turning them into victims too. Their heads were aching. The legs seemed to hang from the shoulders, but they have to move on. Finally, they made it through the cave, stumbling into the cold night. Run towards the tourist hut not far away. Laughter from the hut, and music to welcome the new year. Walter and Maria were pale, stumbling into the hut, through the carnival crowd. At first, Walter's unsteady posture and vague speech makes people think he's just drunk. But soon the truth was explained. People realize this is a serious emergency. They say there are still students trapped in the cave. Some of them have lost consciousness. If the remaining students are not rescued immediately, will not survive the cold night. The first responders are the nearest border agents. They quickly organized a rescue team, bring all the available equipment. But this was no ordinary rescue mission. The trap team is in the deepest part of the branch passage. You have to go through those narrow red streams. The rescue team quickly prepared and assembled for departure. They went down to the cave, embarked on the same icy waterway as the students. And it was this journey that was exhausting. When they finally approached the branch passage, the first survivors were found almost unconscious. They are weak. Can't even do it. Some people have to be exonerated. Some rely on rescue workers to help them make an appearance. Move forward. Rescuers saw the cave, the most painful sight in the depths. The bodies of 3 students. There is no way to save them now. The remaining students were taken to safety one by one. Rescue workers move as quickly as possible. Even every second counts. The last few survivors was taken out of the cave after a few hours. They were soaking wet, pale, look empty, although they survived. But there's no going back. The 3 victims were pronounced dead at the scene. Remains of rescue workers and survivors, stunned under the gaze of his companions. The remaining survivors were rushed to the hospital. Doctors immediately launched treatment to stabilize their state. The news has spread. The whole of Hungary was plunged into shock and grief. This was no ordinary accident. Something terrible obviously happened in the cave, but at the time, nobody could explain why. Over time, the issues and accusations surrounding this tragedy came like a storm. From the very beginning, no one can clearly explain the branches that night. What happened in the tunnel? The 3 officially listed. The cause of death was Schwinn's disease. However, based on this alone, doesn't explain it. Why do so many members suddenly pass out? Maybe the water level rises. It was suggested that reduce the oxygen concentration in the channel. However, the team relies on calcium carbide lamps. It's supposed to be an indicator of air quality, but drones have seen the lights dim or flicker. Some people speculate, perhaps extreme exhaustion and prolonged exposure to ice water. But this also seems to explain a different. However, the more worrying theory is that there may be some kind of known chemical contaminants leaked into the groundwater stream, poison them as they wade through the water. There are even rumors that Jack Slovak's side, the potential for water pollution in the area, issued a warning. If this warning does exist, he obviously failed to convey to the expedition. And what's even more unfortunate is, No one was collecting water pressure at the time of the incident. So if there is a toxin in the water, can't be confirmed, since there is no conclusive reason to investigate. Public and official attention, turning quickly to the man leading the expedition, Walter. As the person in charge of organizing this cave tour, he became the authority, the main targets of criticism from the media and the public. Someone must be held responsible for the death, and in their eyes. And that was Walter. He was accused of treating a group of inexperienced young people, placed in a dangerous environment, at the same time seeking an amount other than Maria, external guidance assistance. He was also accused of failing to seek help in time, and leave the cave alone without the students. The media immediately reported the incident. They exaggerate and distort the details to create a more dramatic narrative. This also exacerbates the difficulty of recounting this history today. Walter used to be disciplined, a firm and respected leadership style. Now it is being questioned and denied. Despite expert testimony, this disaster was not Walter's fault, but the criticism of him intensified. Initially, the public had believed he might be acquitted. I believe that reason and fairness will ultimately prevail. However, the following summer, an unrelated incident changed his fate. During a student-led excursion, they were caught in a sudden storm. Although everyone survived, but the matter has come under intense scrutiny. This event will shape Walter, create a reckless person, a man who always takes risks on the edge of life. Despite the storm, this is an uncontrollable event in nature, but it was only him again. Involved in a life and death crisis, it was enough to completely reverse public opinion. The final court ruling, Walter for playing his duty, and convicted of abandoning others, sentenced to 3 years in prison. This ruling not only changed Walter's life, it also had a profound impact on caves throughout Hungary. A year after the adventure tragedy, Hungary all-teen caving groups disbanded in full. A legal precedent is established in the event of an accident. Teachers or expedition leaders will be held personally accountable, even if the accident is beyond their control. Apparently no one is willing to take that risk. So the burgeoning teen cave, the adventure community is over. For many years thereafter, caving activities are significantly reduced. At the same time, Walter Fu is sentenced but still banned, teaching again. Years later, he was allowed to lead the expedition again. But by then his golden age had long since been lost. Years have passed. His name has always been associated with this cave tragedy. Connect together. Until today, about what really happened that night in the branch passage remains a mystery. The most likely theory is still circulating, including the lack of oxygen in the tunnel, physical limits and collapse, even possible toxic contamination. But since there is no substantive evidence, this is all theoretical.